We need domestic policy here at home that protects America's homeland. We need to restore the Constitution as the law of the land. It is the law of the land. And we need to limit the rights of unions in bargaining with government. We need infrastructure development in this country that utilizes American workers, American equipment, and American materials, not Chinese. We need to make sure that employers can verify that their workers have a right to be here and they're plugged into the tax system. And we need a homeland security that truly protects our borders. And we got to make sure we have no Sharia law, courts, or banks in this country. And I would try terrorist and military tribunals and not the comforts of civilian life. And finally, we got to have a military policy as the sixth pillar. We got to make sure that we maintain the best military around the world, my friends. That is what it's getting us through. We got to make sure that we protect our veterans and fulfill all of our commitments to our veterans and our veterans' families. Now, I get asked a lot of questions about military operations and the wars and such. And again, I'm tainted. I'm trained by the best. When you're going to conduct military operations, there's only one way to do it, and it's not this mess you're seeing in Libya. The first thing you do is you assess the threat. Now, can I eliminate the threat by some other means? Is there some other tool in the toolbox that I can use? Trade embargoes, having my allies work with me on it. But when the day comes that you've exhausted every other option, and someone doesn't want to play well, and they're going to continue to be a threat to this country's well-being, or the well-being of our solid allies, you have to go to the toolbox and get the big hammer. And when you do that, you evaluate this threat. Who are they? What are they? What do they got? Where is it at? How do they use it? What's their strengths? What's their weaknesses? And you bring to bear all elements of national power and resources. And you develop what we call a force package that integrates all services together with overwhelming force. You have clearly defined military objectives. You identify an in-state vision of what this victory is going to look like when it's over. You dominate the battle space at every level, strategically, operationally, and tactically in every environment, land, sea, and air. You pull them into a kill zone and you eliminate the threat clearly and quickly with minimal loss to civilians and U.S. forces. And then you have a well-designed and orchestrated exit strategy that preserves the peace, and you get the troops out and you take care of them and their families while they're gone. Let's bring this home. Where do we go from here? My friends, we got to continue this fight to take our country back and end these liberal giveaways. As a member of the armed services, we took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We need to make sure our judges and our Congress and our president defend the Constitution, and we need to replace the ones that are doing that. Now, we're Republicans, and we know we've got to take control of the U.S. Senate in 2012 with real conservatives. We need to take control of the U.S. Senate with real conservatives that have serious credentials to face these global threats.
Yes. Yes.
You know, it's a come-as-you-are battlefield, my friends. And we don't have the luxury of on-the-job training. We're trying that in the White House, and how's that working? You know, I get asked sometimes, where do I stand on the Second and the 10th Amendment? And I know for many of you, you know what those are. And I think we need a sign at every airport, every road, and every harbor entering Florida. You're entering the 10th Amendment owned and operated state, and justice will be served with the Second Amendment. We need to throw any cap and trade type legislation in the trash, throw the Obama health care and high-speed rail in the trash. Now, I have a little saying, I don't like to mention politicians, but I allow myself one luxury. Maybe we should throw Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, and Barack Obama in the trash. We've got to get the legal handcuffs off the American spirit and let our competitive nature take over again. We got to restore the family as the pillar of our society and keep the ownership of America in the hands of American citizens and out of the hands of the federal government, out of the hands of China, and out of the hands of the UN.
Got that right.
We need to lift the ban on onshore drilling, and we need to increase not only domestic oil production, but refinery production. And we need the EPA and the Department of Energy facilitating that process instead of constantly standing in the way. We need to quit using government to collect union dues and paychecks. And if it's me, I'd like to fire Janet Napolitano and get someone running Homeland Security that understands what that's really about. We need to pull along as the Federal Reserve. I want to know where our money's going, and they need to have transparency and reportability and accountability to the GAO. And maybe we ought to just throw the IRS in the trash and replace that with a fair tax system. We got to stop this dumbing down of America and get back to the principles and values that built this country and made it great. And we need to get the pride of American history, and I don't mean back to post-construction. How about 1492? The teaching of the Constitution, that flag, and the Pledge of Allegiance back in our schools. So that our children understand what we're inheriting. We've got to stop this political correctness and coddling of radical Islamic extremists. They want to kill us. It's ugly. We cannot allow textbooks that teach our students the wrong messages. We can't have it in our schools. And ladies, again, we cannot allow courts with Sharia law and banks in this country. And that one should scare you to death. We got to make sure we fully support Israel as the only democracy in our ally in the Middle East. And I would never issue a building permit for a mosque on sacred soil stained with the blood of innocent Americans from a terrorist attack. We've got to secure our borders. No more lip service. Now, I'm a little disappointed that our true conservative Florida legislature, with 500,000 illegal immigrants here, couldn't give us immigration. We got to get this fixed. My friends, we need the world to know that being in this country is a privilege and not a right.
Right, amen. We need to verify.
We have paid for this with our most precious blood. And just because you show up doesn't mean we owe you anything.
That's right.
If you want to be here, you got to be here legally. You want to work here, you got to be in the tax system and help pay for this. You want to be a citizen? We have a process and you need to follow it. And for me, please learn to speak English. Take one quick look at beating Bill Nelson. My friends, this is going to be formidable. This isn't Kendrick Meek. Let's not kid ourselves. As Republicans, we've been pretty busy congratulating ourselves for the sweeping win in November. But we need to take a hard look. And everybody I voted for won as well, except me. How many Republicans won a statewide election against a sitting incumbent Democrat for that job? Let's think about it. How many? None. Nobody beat a statewide sitting Democrat for that job. Now, we beat a lot of Democrats, but not statewide. Here's the realities. The Democrats now have 500,000 more registered voters in this state than there are registered Republicans. And if I'm Bill Nelson, my strategy is simple. I will not make the same mistake Kendrick Meek made, and I think he's pretty sure that Rick Scott's not going to go independent running for Senate and split the Democratic vote. He's going to go after that 500,000 advantage, get as much of it as he can. If he only gets 20% of it, it's 100,000. That's almost twice as much as Rick Scott beat Alex Sink by. And he's going to go after the veterans. We got 1.7 military veterans, 7 million military veterans in the state. And Bill Nelson did wear a uniform. And he tells them every 5 minutes what he's done for them. We better beat him with the veterans or he's going to be very difficult to beat. And we got veterans in here, and I think most veterans know that veterans will respect a veteran because they understand what's going on. We're going to expose Bill Nelson's liberal voting record, there's no doubt about it. But we need to recognize what Bill Nelson's going to do in a debate is he's going to take whoever the Republican challenger is and say, okay, son, here's what U.S. senators do. Let's see your resume. U.S. senators do treaties, national defense, national security, confirm the military leaders, confirm the ambassadors, confirm the president. How much experience you got really in these things? We better put someone in there who can say, hey, Bill, bring it. Let's see what you got. Let's see what your national security experience is. Let's see what your military record is. Let's see what your global experience is in this global economy facing these threats. I hope it's me because I'm going to have fun, and I will turn him inside out.
Good.
My friends, I got one question for you as we're closing here. How many of you have children or grandchildren?
Everybody does.
This election for U.S. Senate is about your children, your grandchildren in this country. It's not about who's the party chosen one, whose turn is it, who raised the most money. You're not hiring a fundraiser.
Right.
What this is about is who do you want to put facing the global threats, the China, the Koreas, the Irans? Who do you want looking at the Vladimir Putins and staring them down? You know, Ronald Reagan had a good quote, and we all remember him and we love him. For those who do not believe freedom has to be protected, freedom's never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. My friends, this is still the land of the free and the home of the brave and one nation under God. And we must keep our country strong, prosperous, safe, and stop those who want to give it away or take it away. And failure is simply not an option.
Right.
Americans have always found a way to win, and we will again. My job is to retire Bill Nelson and send Barack Obama packing at the same time. And once again, I'll defend this great nation. Too often our politicians put themselves first, but soldiers put America first. And in 2012, Florida is going to send another hard-charging colonel to the U.S. Senate to give Allen West some reinforcements. My friends, I want to thank you for letting me be here tonight, and may God bless you and may God bless you. You think we have time for a couple of questions, just not time for answers?
It seems like, excuse me, it seems like we always send people with a great voice to Washington. But when Washington gets them, they assimilate. You know what I mean by assimilate?
Yes, they get absorbed into the greater whole and lose their individuality.
Beltway virus.
And if you are so successful, we know that a good majority of the bills are written by the staff. Not the elected official, but the staff. And you are responsible for your staff, and I hope that you're going to get a new staff, other than Bill Nelson's old staff.
Oh, God forbid.
Yeah, I hope they're getting their resumes out. So.
And the second question is, what do we do with Cape Canaveral?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, when we look at, first of all, assuming I win the election, by the time I take office, I'm 61. So I'm not going to be a career guy that's going to be there for 20 years. That's not my plan. So I don't have a need to go up there and start worrying about re-election right away. I look at NASA. You know, the last shuttle mission went up Friday. It's a proprietary world-class technology that we've got to protect. We've got to find a mission for them. And, you know, we can talk about the space shuttle. You know, for me personally, we got to be cautious here what we get into, but I think probably some of the classified missions that we had for the space shuttle program are already in place, so they don't have that need now. But we got to find other things for them to do. And I think we need joint ventures with private industry, just like we still do in the military-industrial complex. I mean, look at the F-22 Raptor. The Air Force doesn't build that airplane. And there's certainly jobs that we've got to keep, and we've got to keep it in the hands of Americans. I do not want to see NASA fall in to the hands of a foreign entity that can then turn around and use all that investment and that research and that technology against us. And here in Florida, it's particularly needsome. But, you know, looking forward in the world, it's still going to be the best economies and the best jobs and the best standard of living are going to be those with the highest technologies. And right there is a core pillar that we got to be sure that we protect and build on. Okay?
I'd like to ask you a question, please.
Yes, sir.
I am not exactly a fan of the UN.
Yeah.
How do you feel about our getting out of the UN?
Yeah.
Getting the UN out of the U.S.?
Yeah, I tell you, you know, when we all grew up, we were taught how the UN's this or that, but when you start looking at what's coming on with the UN, I totally agree. I think that it looks like we're too much of a bill payer, and that where the UN wants to go, and you throw in George Soros and his agenda, We certainly don't need a one-world government. I don't want other countries running this country. They all want to be us, so we certainly don't need them telling us what to do. And the very next thing I think you're going to see out of the UN is going to, and they're going to, you know, they hide under treaties. You know, and I heard Judge Andrew Napolitano say one time in Tampa, when he was asked, and he's a libertarian type individual, but considered a constitutional expert, he says, in some views, a treaty outranks the Constitution. So what happens is we hide behind treaties with the UN for everything, and what I'm concerned about is they're going to come up with one that's going to try to take away our Second Right Amendments next. And we just can't allow this to happen.
Hillary already signed one?
No.
Oh, boy. I don't know what, I don't know if Hillary signed anything on Second Amendment or not, but I know that they're probably going to try to bury gun control in a UN initiative and say, well, you have a treaty with the UN, so you got to follow. We just simply cannot allow that to happen.
Obama's pushing that already.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Pat.
Thank you for speaking to us tonight. Colonel, thank you for your service. I only have one question, one concern. I know the statewide race,
Right.
it takes a lot of money to be a successful campaign. I noticed you were the only one that didn't come out with your report how much you raised. Are you concerned with that at all, or, you know, because the other guys I saw at them,
Yeah.
$1 million, $2 million.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm going to answer this. I'm really not. But first of all, I'm going to tell you, I don't care if you raise $10 billion. Is that going to make you a better senator? Is that going to make you more qualified to face the global threats? Now, I can also go back and say I ran for governor for 55 days and didn't run a single ad and didn't take a single fundraising event. Okay, and had 135,000 votes in 55 days against the party guy and a guy that did win, that had, you know, quite a bit of resources to draw upon. This time we have 2 years. But we've also got a contract with Base Connect, and their mailings went out this last week or so. They did Sharon Ingalls, and it's nationwide, and we also have a nationwide email campaign that'll start sending 5 million emails out per month. And we're going to have our local fundraising events as well. So we know we got to raise money. But at the same time, I think that you need to make sure that you're not just hiring a fundraiser, that you're hiring someone who's got the credentials to really face these global threats, and that's what our message is. But we do have national fundraising that started, and it really just went out now, and the last reporting period ended June 30th, so very little of that was in there.
Where can you donate?
Yeah, on our website, we have bumper stickers here, and what happened was after I spoke at the Republican Leadership Conference in New Orleans, they had quite a few individuals went on and deposited there. We really weren't expecting to do anything till July 1st to avoid but they ran us over the $5,000, and so now we have to report, but we have all that all set up. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay, now Press Secretary Sheila Venero, she has a quick report. She will make it real quick, within 2 minutes from Tallahassee, right?
Okay, so for time, I'll make it real quick, but it's good to be back in Southwest Broward, and I just want to, Frank, you need to get my mom an application, please. So, on any note, on all your papers, or on your tables, there are Governor Scott's accomplishments, and one of, I guess my biggest honor is being Governor Scott's special assistant. I get to travel around the state, talking to businesses and different industries about Governor Scott's vision, and I want to make sure that everyone has our talking points. We are under attack by the unions, the police union, the teachers unions. We are under attack by the liberal media, and everybody wants to tell you what our office is doing, but it's now I'm coming out and telling you myself what we're doing. So use these talking points. I know Starla said she was going to tweet them out, so you get to tweeting. Just a couple of quick points. I'm going to give you some numbers. Florida's debt was at $23 billion when Governor Scott took office. We vetoed $615 million out of the budget. We ran on the principles of 700,000 jobs, 7 years, 7 steps, and we have kept to every single promise we've kept. Merit pay, ending tenure, cutting pensions, or having everyone pay into their pensions. So we've kept our promises. We're doing fiscal conservative at the very root. So every time I need Republicans out here to write your letters to the editor, comment on the blogs, let people know that we are not standing for the lies that are going to be said. And just to give you one specific lie, or turn of the cheek, how many of us have heard that Governor Scott cut the education budget. Good. We didn't cut the education budget. In fact, the federal government cut the education budget, but they're not going to tell you that. We left funding the same from last fiscal year to this year. We didn't touch the education budget. The federal government removed some of their grant stimulus money. They gave it to the Florida's education, and then they took it back. But it's easy for everyone to blame it on Governor Scott versus President Obama. So those are just a couple of things. If you need me, I'll have my business cards at the end of the meeting. So get in contact with me, email, phone call, and I'll answer questions at the end because I know we're pressed for time. So thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. And did I mention she's also a special assistant to the governor? All right. Karen, you want to come up and say hello in 30 seconds? Real quick.
Hello.
Everybody, thank you so very much, Jay. Most of you have signed my petition. Thank you so very much. We've been campaigning now for 4 months. As you know, we got almost 40% of the vote last time against Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and we are confident we are going to take her out this time. In fact, the gentleman's not here tonight, but we have a new hire on our campaign. His name's Anthony Bustamante. He's my political consultant. And he was on the Marco Rubio campaign. He was in charge statewide as his field director. So he's somebody who joined a campaign that was broke and 35 points down, and he and I share the same vision. So we are extremely excited. We're going to take this race from here to Orlando. We are already booked all around the state, and we're very excited. So I appreciate your support. You know, it's caringforcongress.com. And it's just like being around family here. I love this club. I love being a member here, and I'm so proud of the job that everybody has done. So keep bringing people to come here.
One question. Can we all agree let's hold her Debbie, let's run the water on Debbie Schultz?
DWS, how's that?
That's like the shoe store, so let's not ruin it. Just Debbie Schultz, that's her name. Let's run the Wasserman.
Okay, well, we know exactly what we're running against. We know what we're up against. One of the biggest liberals in Washington that is right by the president's side. So let's keep her busy, not raising money for this president. Let's bring her back to this district and make her fight for her seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Now, Michael DeCrucio, he's the Broward County Chair for Presidency 5. He's going to bring us a quick update, and he's going to make it brief as well. Thank you, Michael.
September the 24th in Orlando. Presidency 5 is an event which will be televised with a live Fox debate on that Thursday. We will also have a straw poll for all delegates that Saturday. A lot of you have been asking information about an agenda. The RPUF is very slow on this, but right now as it stands, the straw poll will be late Saturday. They're also going to have right after the straw poll meet and greet, from my understanding, with U.S. Senate candidates and also presidential candidate Huntsman, and it also looks like another presidential candidate as well after the straw poll. So I know a lot of you asking you need to stay over Saturday. With those two things occurring now, I think that you might have to extend your stay for Saturday night because I don't think you want to miss that opportunity. Thursday, as I said, we need to be there at 3 o'clock. We need to be in the debate headquarters by 5 p.m., the debate area, I should say, and then we'll start at 7 p.m. on Thursday. We are working on transportation. I'm going to make sure everything is sent to Jay. We have 183 delegates, 50 alternates, so right now we stand at a little 130. So if you're interested, I'll be in the back with information. Also, before I leave, your state representative, Jeanette Nunez, is having a job fair. It's going to be Saturday, August the 13th in Miami. It's going to be 11 to 2 p.m. I'm going to give you flyers. I spoke to the representative. She's sorry she couldn't make it. She thanks everyone for their birthday wishes. And I just want to make sure that you are also kept abreast because I know your president and your entire board helped get Jeanette Nunez elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Christian Camara, he's here from CPAC. He has a brief message, 30 seconds.
Thanks, folks. My name is Christian Cameron. I'm with the Heartland Institute, and the Heartland Institute is a center-right think tank here nationally. We recently partnered up with the American Conservative Union, which, as you may know, for almost 40 years they've put together CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, which is pretty much the gold standard of conservative gatherings. Now, I'd be remiss if I failed to mention CPAC's 2011 Blogger of the Year, Javier Manjarres, as it was mentioned earlier. He was chosen among hundreds of conservative bloggers, and it should make everyone in this room proud that not only a Floridian, but a Broward Countyan was chosen for that honor. Now, the new chair of American Conservative Union, Al Cardenas, which is also a Floridian, he has decided to take the concept of CPAC on the road. So CPAC, which has been celebrated in Washington for about 40 years now, is going on the road, and the first place that it's going to is Florida. It's going to be in conjunction with, although independent of, the Presidency 5 straw poll. So Presidency 5, as Michael DeGrucio just said, is going to be Thursday and Saturday with nothing happening on Friday. Well, CPAC is happening on Friday. So it is a completely separate registration. It's a $45 registration fee for the entire day of panels. I mean, we have had in the past Ronald Reagan, we have had George W. Bush, we have had Dick Cheney. All of the greatest conservative thinkers have spoken at CPAC. So I highly encourage you to look at the flyer. If you don't have one of these, please see me. I left them on the table, and I look forward to seeing you in Orlando. Take care, folks.
Harlan, you had an announcement? Where are you? Stand in real quick.
Okay, today on Fox News, there was an announcement made. Today on Fox News, an announcement was made that President Obama is by executive order going to sign gun control within the next 2 weeks to a month. That's what their estimation is. And the Colonel was kind enough to talk about our Second Amendment's rights. Obviously, that would be a direct attack. Now, I will tell you that we can't do anything about it until it actually happens. Then legally, I'm sure there's recourse that can happen. In the meantime, I can personally tell you that if there's something that you want in the gun community, you should go out and get it as quickly as possible, because 2 weeks to a month is going to happen pretty quick.
Thank you, Harlan.
Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Klein, we have door prizes. What do you got?
Yes, we have a door prize.
You want to have Colonel McAllister draw up the winners, or?
What do?
Okay, he's busy. Karen could do that for you.
Get any?
Want me to yell it?
Yeah, sure, yellow.
362861.
We didn't get any. We didn't get any. And one gift.
Anybody? 362861. Okay, John Pizzolo.
John.
Pick one gift, John. I can't go back. I'm just gonna go back.
John, just go back and pick one gift.
Okay, say. 362 825.
362825.
825.
825. 362825.
See how she picks the women?
All right, George. No, it's George. 362825. Go back there and grab yourself a gift.
Okay, I need somebody to read the number.
Oh. Okay. All right. One more. All right, Frank, pick one.
Last number is 872.
872. All right, Mario. All right, folks, our next meeting is August 1st. See you then. Good night.
Don't forget your sign. Take your sign.
Ladies and gentlemen, take a sign with you for your corner or your yard, please. For the next meeting in August.
Oh, you're gonna take a sign. Where are you gonna put it? We'll go
We did good, yeah, it was good.